This is Season 2 of HYCON, and you're watching the top 10 most haunted places in Vermont. Coming in at number 10, the Equinox Golf Resort and Spa in Manchester, Vermont. The Equinox Golf Resort and Spa is said to be haunted by Mary Todd Lincoln, the wife of Abraham Lincoln, who is said to have visited the hotel in 1865. Several people report seeing an apparition of the First Lady appear at random, quickly vanishing once spotted. It's said sometimes she appears with a child at her side. Guests report strange whispering and feeling cold chills throughout the hotel, or items being moved from where they once were, or even lights coming on in the middle of the night. It is unknown if the hotel is currently available to visitors, but you may check the website for more information. Coming in at number 9, Hartness House Inn in Springfield, Vermont. James Hartness was an inventor, company president, aviator, and governor of Vermont. He was a man of endless curiosity and innovation. He was awarded patents for numerous inventions, including lathes, sundials, and telescopes. He also built a series of tunnels beneath his home, which is now the Hartness House Inn. The tunnels include many rooms, a workshop, a study, and a lounge and bathroom. Some say that James Hartness himself is still below the inn, tinkering and inventing to this day. People say random objects will go missing and appear in spots they had never been in, and the electricity goes on and off for no apparent reason. Check the Hartness Inn website to see if it is available to visit. Number 8, Vermont Police Academy, Pittsford, Vermont. Before it was a police academy, it was a state hospital for those with tuberculosis. It's said to still be haunted by one of the nurses who once worked there. Her name was Mary. It's said she contracted tuberculosis herself and died in the building. The academy still has all of the old call buttons in the recruits' rooms, and it's said that if you press a button, Mary herself will come and check on you in the night, just like she did for her patients when she was still alive. The academy is not available to visitors. Number 7, Lake Bomazeen, West Castleton, Vermont. The town of West Castleton on Lake Bomazeen has been abandoned since the 1930s. Prior to that, it was full of mills and quarries, with immigrants coming in from all over, Ireland, Italy, and Eastern Europe to settle in the area. It was a busy town. However, the once prosperous industrial town is now a ghost town, and not because it's abandoned. One of the most common ghost stories is that 3 friends took a rowboat across the lake to visit a favorite pub, only to never be seen again. It's said the boat was found the next morning, but no evidence was found as to where the friends went. It's now said that same rowboat is seen making its way across the lake, no passengers, and the oars seem to cut silently through the water towards the abandoned tavern on the far side. The town is still accessible. Number 6, University of Vermont, Burlington, Vermont. The University of Vermont is the largest higher education institute in Vermont. It was established in 1791 and was the 5th university founded in New England. The school welcomes thousands of students, but it seems many don't ever leave. Over the years, many homes were bought and absorbed into the campus, one of those being the Counseling Center, which was once the home of one Captain John Knabb. The staff says he's still there and likes to make his presence known by knocking over buckets and slamming doors and windows. The nearby public relations building is said to be haunted by a former owner named John E. Booth, who makes banging noises all over the house. But the most haunted area on the huge campus is the Bittersweet House, where many people have reported seeing full-body apparitions. It's said a woman named Margaret Smith is the ghost that resides there. She became a widow at a young age and spent the rest of her life as a recluse until her death in 1961. Not all ghosts who reside there are former residents. One is a far more tragic story. In 1920, a young med student called Harry committed suicide in the building and is said to still be seen there, manifesting himself in the form of poltergeist activity. The campus is most likely not open to visitors at this time. Number 5, Brattleboro Retreat Tower, Brattleboro, Vermont. The Brattleboro Retreat, once the Vermont Asylum for the Insane when it was founded in 1834. There are 58 buildings on this over 1,000-acre property. Only 20 of these buildings are modern. The rest were built between 1838 and 1938. One building in particular, the Retreat Tower, is now abandoned and closed off, but it was built around 1887. supposedly by patients at the asylum. At the time, it was believed that physical labor would help cure whatever ailed them. However, shortly after it was built, it was shut down due to the number of patients who would jump to their death. People often report seeing apparitions jump from the window, only they never reach the ground. The tower is unavailable for visitors, as is the retreat itself. Number 4. Norwich University, Norwich, Vermont. Norwich University has many ghost stories attached to it involving 4 different halls on the campus. First, there is a legend that there is a boarded-up room in Alumni Hall where a student is said to have hung himself. Several years later, the boy's brother attended the school and was somehow given the same room. It said he hung himself in that room as well, which is why the room is boarded up. Students report hearing strange noises coming from inside. And at Chaplain Hall, there is said to be a ghost who hangs around the front door. In the past, the hall was used as a library, and it's said that books would levitate off the shelves. The other 2 supposed haunted halls are Ransom Hall and Hawkins Hall, where similar events take place. It's unknown if the place is open to visitors, but it's unlikely it is at this time. Number 3. The Shelburne Museum, Shelburne, Vermont. The museum consists of several historic buildings that contain relics from the past. One of the buildings here, the Dutton House, an old red colonial home, is said to have more in it than meets the eye. Built in 1872 in Cavendish and relocated to museum grounds in 1950. The red colonial home's ghost must have traveled with it when it was moved. Witnesses have described the apparition of an older man hunkering down upstairs, as well as the sound of a little girl crying. Many workers there are afraid to enter the house at all due to the noises heard and the overall feeling of being watched upon entry. The museum is currently closed to the public, but testimonials about the Dutton House are available on YouTube. Coming in at number 2, Eddy House in Chittenden, Vermont. The Eddy House was the original home of Zephaniah Eddy, whose 3 children were descended from a long line of psychics. From a young age, Horatio, William, and Mary were said to be mediums who played with ghostly children, went into trances, and spoke in spirits' voices. They were eventually expelled from school for making tables levitate and books fly. Finally, Zephaniah had had enough of his children's antics, and sold them to a traveling sideshow where they were cruelly exploited for 14 years, receiving even worse abuse than what their father had done to them. The children moved back into the house after their father's death and turned it into a place called the Green Tavern, where it is said they held seances for guests and conjured up spirits. The inn had a history of being extremely haunted, and when attorney Henry Steele Olcott read about it in a newspaper story, he went to investigate. He arrived to find a seance being conducted by Horatio Eddy, where at least 10 spirits appeared. Olcott examined the seance room and spirit cabinet for false panels or other deception, and found none. Seances were held nightly. Spirits who appeared include Chinese, Russians, and Africans, and even inanimate objects, and they often gave performances. As the spirits often spoke in other languages, and the Eddys were known to be illiterate, fraud was unlikely. Olcott, convinced of the authenticity of the Eddys' abilities, wrote a book called People from Other Worlds, which included a description of his exploration of the Eddys, including drawings of the spirits, the grounds, and the Eddy House. The building is now the High Life Ski Club Lodge. It is unknown if the lodge is able to be visited. And the number 1 most haunted place in Vermont, Emily's Bridge in Stowe, Vermont. Emily's Bridge was constructed in 1844 by John W. Smith and was originally called the Goldbrook Covered Bridge. The site was considered lucky, as the bridge got its name from a local man who failed to find gold during the California gold rush, but somehow found gold in that very brook. The story of Emily changes depending on who you're talking to. Some say she was a young bride on her way to her wedding, and when she went over the bridge, her horse was spooked and tossed her onto the unforgiving rocks below. Others say she was having an affair with a man her parents despised, but that wasn't going to stop her. The couple hatched a plan to meet on the bridge and ride away together. But when Emily arrived and waited hours for her lover, only for him not to show, people say she hung herself from the bridge. People who visited the bridge claim to hear a woman crying or even see a full apparition of Emily herself. Some also claim to have been scratched or discover scratches on their car. EVPs, or electronic voice phenomena, have been gathered in the area, and some claim that Emily is just a veil for something much more sinister and undeserving of visitors. People may still visit the bridge. However, the town of Stowe has an ordinance in place for people not to visit the bridge at night due to people ghost hunting or others just looking for a place to party. This has been the top 10 most haunted places in Vermont, and thank you for watching HYCON.